Alright, Sept-a-Gone is a great piece, Trinity 2020 piece, and it is in 7/8, which means that there are 7 quavers in a bar. And it starts off with a bell. The bell is the square thing that sits in the top line, and because you've got what is a crotchet or a quarter note, that bell rings for 2 of the 7/8. So you count the crotchets as 1, 2. So it's bell, 2, rest, 2, rest, and 7, and 7. So that's what that means. That's the code. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. You repeat that. Bell, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7. Repeat that left bar in the same. The repeat marks mean you repeat the left thing. At grade 6 you should know that. That means a crescendo marking, and then you go all the way to section A. Bell, hat, bell, bell, hat, bell, hat, hat, bell, hat, hat, bell, hat, hat, with the bass on the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. Repeat those 2 bars again. Bell. Now you got the snare drum. That's kind of not so loud. You got a accent here with the arrowheads, but here it's bell, snare, bell, bell, and when you do a snare you usually do a bass, except for here. Bell, snare, bell, bell, snare, bell, snare, snare, bell, snare, snare, bell, snare, snare, bell on the right. That is bell, snare, bell, bell. More of the same, except you just add in more basses. Repeat that 1 bar again. This is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. Hat, snare, bass, snare, loud, accent, snare, snare, hat, snare, bass, hat, snare, bass, hat, snare, bass, bass, hat. You just got to make sure that that stroke is loud. Sometimes in the demonstration I don't think I did that all the time, to be honest. I'm sorry. So you repeat that bar again and again for a 3rd time, and then this is just you're just sitting on the 7, but you're not doing an and. So when you have 2 lines above, you've got semiquavers, and semiquavers means that in this context you do the ands. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. And then here it could look a bit tricky, but it really is just a matter of saying that the flam is 1, the bass is 2, 1, 2, 3, the next bass is 3, and then you got rest and rest and. So it's 1, 2, 3 and 4 and then 5 and 6 and 7, 5 and 6 and 7. So when you got 3 lines you got demi-semiquavers, but this is when you say 5 and 6 and 7. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. So that's 1, 2, 3 and 4 and, because you got the semiquavers here and you're just doing the ands. So again, just to clarify, it's the same with the top part of this. The beginning of bar 17 is the same as the beginning of bar 18. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. And because you got less strokes here, you just descend to tom 1 here, 5 and 6 and 7, and that I will show you clearly in the demonstration. Then you got crash, snare, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 and 7. Bell, snare, bell, bell, snare, bell, snare, tom 2, bell, bass, bell, snare, floor, snare, bass. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. And so you just make sure that that's all even, and you do that 1, 2, 3, 4 times in total. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. Then you got these 2 bars which are almost the same. Bass, bass, crash snare, bass, bass, flam, but apart from that it's the same. So it's snare, 1, bass, snare, 1, bass, floor, 1, snare, 1, bass, bass, snare, snare, 1, bass, snare, 1, bass, floor, 1, snare, 1, bass, bass, crash snare. Then you got 1 knee and a 2 and 3. So these hats are demi-semi-quavers. 1 knee and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. 1 knee and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and a 7. 1 with a big crash. I hope that's clear. Remember, when you got 2 lines, you're singing out the ands. When you got 3 lines, you're doing a 1 knee and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. Hat, 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 bass, snare, hat, bass, hat, snare, bass, bass, snare, snare, tom, 2. The same thing, except snare, 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 floor, floor. So the first, except for the 6 and 7, 6 and a 7, that's different. Then you got crash, bass, hat, snare, 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 5, 6 and 7. So the bass is in between all of that stuff. It's a semi-quaver bass, that's a semi-quaver rest. Crash, 2 and snare, hat, hat, bass, hat, snare, hat, bass, bass. And then you do that again and again and again for the 4th time. So that happens 4 times, except you don't crash bass it. You just hit the hat, sit on the hat. Then it's bass, snare, bass, bass, crash, hat, hat, bass, hat, snare, hat, bass, bass. And then this bar again, which is the same as this, for another, and then another repeat. Then you got snare. I do this right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, right, or right, left at the end, but nice and big with the accents. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. Snare, open, snare. So snare, open, open, hat again. Snare and bass, and then you close there again. So 1 and 2 and 1 and 1 and rest, rest, rest. And you, that's 7. That quaver that's rested is 7. So you got to do this on the and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So let me say that again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and then before the 7. And this is how it sounds.